Hey folks, how's it going? This is Iron Seagull here, back with another Sims Info and Thoughts video. So, we have a possible clue as to what the next expansion pack for The Sims 4 may be. So, EvanLa24 posted this, saying, a new job listing from EA Jobs, saying the Max's Studio of Electronic Arts is seeking a voice editor to join the audio team and help ship an upcoming expansion pack for The Sims 4. Timeline 6 to 12 months, it opened on the 4th of February this year. So when you look at the actual job posting, yep, all of that information is correct. They hired somebody pretty fast because the position is no longer open. So the job posting says voice editor contract at the Redwood Shores location for 6 to 12 months. The Max's Studio of Electronic Arts is seeking a voice editor to join the audio team and help ship an upcoming expansion pack for The Sims 4. The ideal candidate should have experience delivering final quality audio, either from a brief or starting with placeholder sounds and software. Strong interpersonal skills and the ability to work within technical limitations to deliver quality audio are essential. It's also important that the candidate understands the role of audio in video games and can create final content to best affect the player experience. So initially this does sound pretty general. I think there was a job position very similar, if not exactly the same, that popped up on EA's website a few months before Discovery University was announced. But then the rest of the job posting, I think, can hint at something a bit different compared to that post. So with the skills, it says must have voice editing experience and have expertise in relevant software packages, such as Logic Audio, SoundForge, and Pro Tools. I'm not familiar with those programs, but I would be surprised if they already were using those tools just in general when they're recording the Simlish voice actors doing their thing for the new packs. So it doesn't necessarily have to mean music, but it could. Though a bit further down there is a bullet point saying proficiency with standard audio tools, DAW editing, plugins, etc., and studio tools, microphone, compressors, etc. So that would definitely be standard equipment that they use for voice recording in general. But the line at the very bottom is the very difference between having made this video into just a general speculation video as to whether we're getting 2 expansion packs this year versus also having speculation that we're going to have a music pack of some kind, because the last line says music performance skills, vocals in particular. So that is definitely more specific than the other stuff, and that is not something I've seen in previous EA job postings. As much as I would love to see a band-focused pack that goes into more depth and with more variety of instruments than what The Sims 3 had, I think a game pack would suffice. I don't think we need a whole expansion pack just for bands. Even though Get Famous was very focused on acting, at least it did integrate fame into the base game gameplay as well, where you could get some fame through other careers and even through other packs, like with the singing skill if you have City Living. And I know there are going to be people saying, oh, we should have got bands in City Living because they had the singing skill there. But with that pack, I think it was obvious they were focused on karaoke singing as more of a side feature. And, well, singing karaoke is definitely not the same thing as a band experience. So I think a band pack could still be really good as long as they give it enough depth so it doesn't feel like a feature that was just separated from another expansion pack. One thing I was pretty disappointed about with bands in The Sims 3 is that they were purely instrumental. I don't mind instrumental bands, but I would have also liked the option to have singers, but no, that's not what happened. They did have singing in Showtime in a different pack, but no, it was not part of Late Night and it did not get integrated with bands. But maybe they could try it again this time around. And I think it also helps that violins and pianos are already in the base game with The Sims 4, whereas with The Sims 3 we did have to wait for DLC in order to get both of those things back. So maybe there would be more room to have a better variety of instruments. There are some that I would like to see back that we don't have yet, like drums. But I would love to see some newer instruments as well, like saxophones and flutes, maybe even tambourines, just some other stuff, just so it's not a complete rehash of what we had in The Sims 3, but maybe just made a little bit better in some ways. Oh, and ukuleles, I almost forgot about those. I think they should have been in Island Living, and it would be nice if that pack was updated to have them, but I think they could also fit a band's game pack very well. And, well, the only other reasonable situation I can think of is a hobbies pack, where they expand on music, because music would be one of the hobbies, hopefully. So then you could have ukuleles as a new instrument for that. But still, yeah, I think ukuleles should be in The Sims. I think that would be a cool instrument to work with. I would also like to have a variety of different genres represented. I know The Sims 3 did have a few. If I remember correctly, it was pop, rock, jazz, and maybe one or two others that I'm missing. But basically, I don't just want my Sims singing a Simlish rendition of what happens to be in the top 50 at the time. I want to have a good variety of different stuff. One issue I think they would run into, though, if they were to make a pack like this, is fame, because we already got the fame system with Get Famous. But maybe what they could do so that you're not completely missing out on fame, because I feel like, especially with something like bands, if your band is very successful, they are going to be at least somewhat famous, is that you make it so that if you don't have Get Famous, but you have the bands pack, then the fame system would only apply to bands. So you would still need to buy Get Famous if you want the fame system for base game stuff, other expansion pack stuff, as well as acting. But my biggest takeaway from all of this is not just the possibility that we could be getting a band-focused pack in the future, but the possibility of us getting 2 expansion packs this year. I know that may sound pretty obvious since that has been the case for a little while, but there were a couple of years where we only got 1 expansion pack per year, because that happened in 2016 with City Living, and then the year after that happened with Cats and Dogs being the only expansion pack for that year. And that did change in comparison to when we got Get to Work and Get Together in the same year of 2015. So, unless the Sim Gurus say otherwise, I'm not going to expect us to get 2 expansion packs every single year for the rest of The Sims 4's life cycle. But seeing that job listing does make me think, okay, maybe we are going to get an expansion pack in June again, or just sometime in early summer, and then another expansion pack during the fall. Though, with that job listing, it does say from 6 to 12 months, so maybe this job posting could be for the fall expansion pack if we do get 2 expansion packs this year. So, at the very least, whether we get a music-oriented pack or not, I think it is just a little bit safer now to guess that we are going to get 2 expansion packs this year instead of just 1. I think it would be pretty good if they did manage to keep up this pace every year for at least a couple more years, because then that would leave more room for them to do more original ideas instead of doing yet another expansion pack that is a rehash of an old idea, but just done a bit differently. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing by default to bring back an old idea, but I think too much of The Sims 4's lifespan has been spent trying to catch up with the previous 3 games in terms of content. It's really too bad that The Sims 4 launched in such an incomplete state, because if they had worked on things like pools and toddlers and released them with the base game when it first came out, then they wouldn't have had to spend extra time developing those things in the first place, and then could have focused more on new features to push the game forward, as well as bringing back some fan-favorite features. As much as I want bands back, yeah, that is an old feature, basically. Though, if they did manage to mix in a bunch of instruments that our Sims haven't been able to use before, then I think that could still feel pretty fresh. Though, on the flip side, if we get too many more packs, then I think that would also make it a lot harder to move on to a new installment eventually, whether it would be called The Sims 5 or just anything else, because then there'd be even more stuff missing from the base game, because they could only put so much in the base game with whatever time they're given, and then work on the other stuff in packs. Like, I would still think that we would get a Seasons pack and a Pets pack and all that stuff, but with Seasons, for example, I would love to have some cloud cover and light rain in the base game so that we don't have to wait like 3 or 4 years for that stuff to return. And then they can still take time to develop a full seasonal cycle for a DLC. And that wraps up another Sims Info and Thoughts video, so feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Do you think we could be getting a music pack in the future? And be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with my latest content from The Sims, Sonic the Hedgehog, and more. So I will talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching!